Are you ready, Judy?
Yes.
Okay. Judy, would you please share the most important lesson that you have learned in your life and how you came about learning it?
I will try to do that. And there's not one most important lesson that I've learned, because that's the point of growing up and growing old, is you learn all sorts of lessons. But I did pick one of the most important ones for me. And that has to do with figuring out right and wrong, because that, I think, is a message that needs to be out there. How do you do right and wrong? And I watched a movie one time which had the best quote in it, and the gentleman said in the movie, telling the difference between right and wrong is not hard. Everybody knows, most everybody knows what right and wrong is. They know, but it's actually doing it where the challenge comes in. And so I thought, that's right, because when you're doing something wrong, it's wrong usually. So right and wrong, the distinction is pretty clear, I think. And people need to know that, because they need to figure out how to use their skills and abilities to do the right thing as opposed to the wrong thing. Yeah. So a good example might be along the lines of seeing two people or knowing two people, and one person rushes into the day, every day that they're alive, headstrong, quickly rushing through to get things done as quickly as possible. And the other person, who is different, just kind of goes through the day very methodically, very intently on doing whatever their goal is. And say these two people, who are very different in their approach to getting things done, have to do some task. So do you want the surgeon doing brain surgery on you to be the one that rushes in and goes full force straight ahead, or do you want the other person who is in more control of every single little step? On the other hand, if you have a forest fire that's going on, or your house is on fire, do you want that person who kind of takes their time and marches towards the fire slowly and tries to put it out, or do you want that person that's going to literally attack the fire with their fire hose and all their equipment? I mean, there are ways to choose the right and wrong thing that could be right for one situation but not another, and you just figure it out that way. That might be a good example of what I'm trying to talk about. That lesson, one of the lessons to figure that out for me, was to realize that everybody in this world is unique and different from everybody else. Because if you realize that, then you know, for instance, as a child, children play together, at least I did in my experience, the whole neighborhood, and we all played together, and I felt that we're all the same because we did all the same things, we all had fun together, and there was no real distinction between us. We were young, our personalities hadn't developed to a level where we had likes and dislikes that were different from other kids. And as you grow older, of course, those become more pronounced and you realize it. And my grandparents, for instance, I had both sets of grandparents all of my childhood, and they were four people, couldn't be more different from each other. And I loved being with them, and I realized they were different. It was not difficult for me to know that they were different because I was with them a lot. But it didn't sink into me that they had different wants, because what they did for me was they always treated me well. So I had a great relationship with them, and that was great. As you get older, then the distinctions become more prominent in other people. you do have to kind of jog your memory or jog some cognizance about that person doesn't really think along the same lines as me, or I know I never thought of it that way. That person has a really different perspective. Maybe I'll consider that. You need to take that into account, because the differences aren't in and of themselves right or wrong. They're just differences. It's how you use or apply those differences in your life that makes them right or wrong. And I can't tell people how to do that. You just try to do the right thing, and it's not always the easiest thing, that's for sure. But you do want to think about right and wrong in what you do, because the one thing I did learn was that everything that I do or have done or haven't done is going to affect not just me, but it's going to affect somebody. So, and it may be somebody I don't even know. But everything I do and everything I don't do, everything I did and everything I didn't do, affects somebody else, not just me. And that's an important thing to think of when you're trying to get to the right and wrong answer, I think.